Hello beautiful, welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some really big books that are on my TBR, and I'm going to narrow this down to books that I actually own or have in my possession, because there are lots of other books that are really big that are on my TBR but I don't own them, and so I'm just going to focus on the ones that I do. And the reason why I like to buy some of my bigger books is to give me enough chance to read them, enough time. However, I found that when I actually get into one of these bigger books, they're usually so good that if it takes me a week, wow, it took me a whole week to read it. Anyway, you know me, I read fast. If I really love something, I just can't put it down, and any second I get to read just a little bit, I'm gonna pick it up. But that's just the way it is. So if you're new to this channel, hello, my name is Natasha. I do videos about books and anything else I want to do a video about. This is going to be about my big books. The next video I have planned is going to be my best of the year so far, or favorites of the year so far. And then after that, we'll have my July wrap up. So if you don't want to miss any of those, be sure you that I have is one I need to finish. And that is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a classic, obviously, and I am quite a bit in it. So I am this far into it, about halfway, or actually I'm a little over halfway into it. So I just need to finish it. This is about, obviously, a guy walking down the street. He runs into a woman and they have a conversation, and then when he gets to London, she somehow disappears, and then he finds out that she may be an escapee from an insane asylum. Fast forward, he goes to be a teacher to these young girls in the countryside, and turns out it could be a lot more involved than that. And it's really good. It's told in a form that's like, the main guy who's walking down the street, he writes a letter, or he's writing a story, and then he passes it off to a lawyer who writes a letter and tells everything. And now I'm into the part where it's one of the sisters that he's teaching. It's one of them, their diary entries, and that's how this is story. It's told from the point of view of different people into the different sections of the story. It's really good. I enjoy it, and I really need to get on finishing that. All right. Now for a couple that are continuations in series, and the first one's going to be Shards of Earth by Adrian Jokoski. I don't know if this is a direct sequel. It's mentioned as like a type of so it says the final architecture. So of this final architecture world, we have Children of Time, Children of Ruin, which I have read, and I do believe there's a third book coming out that goes along with that kind of story. But this is like taking place in that world, possibly before the events of Children of Time and Ruin. I'm not sure, haven't read it yet, but I love Adrian Jokoski's writing. It's so comfortable to read, and I probably would be reading this right now if I hadn't have picked up another book and was like, I'm gonna give this another chance, and then like got into it. So this will probably be one of the next books I read. I say that, but you know what happens, squirrel, and then I get interested in something else. The next one is the Ikasar Falcon by K.S. Veloso. This is the second book in the Wolf of Oren-yaro series, which I'm not sure what is. The Chronicles of the Witch Queen, but it doesn't say witch, it's something else. I really have enjoyed this series. It starts out with our original Wolf Queen, and she goes to another land that's not friendly to her kingdom to try and find her husband, and all kinds of things ensue. It's very interesting. It's a good time, and it's another one of those books which I find really cool. It originally was published by the author, and then I think this is Orbit. Yeah, Orbit picked it up and has started republishing the series. That way, I believe it is a trilogy, and the third one is out, so I need to get to that one so I can get to the third one and find out what happens. All right. The next book is Bladebreaker by Victoria Aveyard. you might hear doggy noises behind me. He's scratching, he's snoring, I don't know, as long as he's quiet. This is a continuation, obviously, of Realm Breaker, right? Yeah, Realm Breaker. I'm looking forward to this one. I loved the first one as far as the story, the cast of characters, things like that. Again, I've spoken about this and other people have, about how the editor must have taken a week off or something. There's some just really weird editing choices or mistakes or things like that in that first book, which I'm hoping that will be corrected here. There won't be that problem. But I did really enjoy that book. Like I said, it's just a bunch of very different characters traveling, trying to not only figure out what's going on, who's involved, what they got to do as they're traveling, but then they kind of figure out this bigger plan that's happening. And that's what this one picks up. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It was definitely a pre-order for me. All right, so let's move on to some other big books. Some that I've heard about, great things about, that I want to kind of move on. The first one is The Lies of Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is a series, and I believe another book in the series is coming out. I believe 3 of these books are out already. And it's pirates and things like that, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. I've had this book for quite some time. It's been sitting on my shelf, but it is, I don't know if I've lost my fire for it, but then again, I haven't, because a lot of people, this is one of their favorite books, and others are just, you know, they enjoy it. I don't know, but I've heard a lot about it, and I'm very interested in reading it, and you know, it's not that bad. It's like less than 650 pages in this edition, and the words are not so tiny. Like, that's why I don't like mass market paperbacks, because the words are tiny and I feel like I don't know how to open the book. But this one's like a floppy mass market paperback, if that makes any sense. So there's nothing stopping me from reading this other than picking up other books instead, but definitely one. The next one I'm very excited about, and this one is a chunker. This one is, oh, there's a glossary in the back and everything. Looks like this is only 613 pages. I don't know what it is. This book just looks bigger than that to me. I don't know. Anyway, The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. I have heard nothing but wonderful things about this book, and there's also an interesting and unique character development kind of thing, where different characters that you wouldn't necessarily put in the forefront of a fantasy novel are in the forefront of this novel, and I'm looking forward to reading this, see what it's all about. I don't know very much about it, but I know it's good. I know it's going to be excellent, and I'm going to love it, and as soon as I read it, I'm going to be like, read this, read this. Everyone needs to read this. I'm going to be putting it in the hands of everyone. So really looking forward to this one. And probably, I found with fantasy, especially when it's a little bit cooler, so like the fall, the winter is when I really get into that. So I have a feeling that I'll be picking some of those up when it gets a little bit cooler. Got 2 more books here. The first one here is The Lincoln Highway by Amor Telles. This is a historical fiction. The basics is there is a kid getting out of juvie. His the warden maybe is dropping him off at his home, but like they have to travel a ways, and so he drops him off at his home. But what happens is 2 other kids from juvie are in the trunk, and they get out with him, and he had a plan to take his sibling somewhere to go see his family, and then what happened was these 2 kids were like, let's go somewhere else. And so it's kind of about their journey, I guess. I'm looking forward to this. This author, I didn't realize till recently, wrote A Gentleman in Moscow, which I haven't finished, I haven't read, I haven't really gotten into it because I didn't really care for I started the audiobook, and the audiobook narrator was not my jam, but I really loved that character. So based on just that little tidbit, I think that I'm going to really enjoy this, because I have enjoyed this author's like characters already so far. And then I have one more that is a nonfiction that I have had for so long, and it is The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson. I love everything I've ever read by Erik Larson. He's so good at what he does. This is historical nonfiction fiction, I guess. He takes nonfiction things and he writes them in a narrative way, and then you can kind of discover what's real and what's not. I don't think he does a lot of like unreal things. Like there are some authors who just kind of get inspired by certain things and then they'll show you like this is the real timeline and this is what really happened. But I feel like this guy, when he writes, stays more along a nonfiction type of timeline, but it reads like fiction. I don't know how else to explain it, but this is following Churchill and the Blitz of London during World War II, and like I said, just everything that this man writes is good, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it is a chunker, and again, I'm looking at this, and it's probably let's see, 503 pages. But it's in like this format. This is a big book. So probably won't take me as long to read as I'm thinking it will, but totally looking forward to that read and that information. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Do you have any big books on your list? And if so, what are they? Are there any that I should pick up? Any that you think that I would enjoy based on what I've shown you so far? And if you've read any of these books, do not spoil me, but let me know what you thought of them, like if they were good, if you enjoyed the read, if you breezed through it, or if it took you a long time. I am really enjoying reading some bigger books from time to time because I know what I'm getting into. I'm looking forward to getting to a certain world again, and so when I go sit down in my chair or on the porch or whatever, I know what I'm getting into. Right now I'm listening to my second 18-hour audiobook of the month. It's not taking me 18 hours because I listen to it a little bit faster, but I realized that today. I was like, well, that's got to be a chunky book because it's an 18-hour audiobook. So it's not like I don't do this, but I don't really try. I try not to be intimidated by books, but sometimes you look at the big books and you're like, oh, I could read this many books in the time that I could read that one. But that's not necessarily true, because if this book is big and you love it, you're just going to devour it every moment you get. Where if you got a shorter book that maybe you're not enjoying you might go do other things instead of read. So whatever. That's all. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope to see you again very soon, and I'll be here next week. So that's all. Have a great day, gorgeous.